What is going on, YouTube? Pass the prop back here again, NFL edition, ready for Monday Night Football. Little recap of Week 12 as well. Back here again with my guys, too. How you doing, man?
Doing pretty good. Had a pretty interesting week of football. Obviously, a lot of entertaining games. Not the best to end on Sunday Night Football with the Eagles just kind of destroying. It wasn't the most entertaining game in the world, but obviously pretty good weekend of football. Besides that, definitely enjoyed it, and we got a really good game to talk about tonight. Arguably the best of the week right here.
Yeah, it should be a fun game. I know they've been kind of picking it up a little bit in terms of primetime games. You got some good ones. But yeah, let's get it rolling here. We'll get right into our recap of the week and get into this slate. So first one we'll start off with. We'll go to Brian here.
Yeah, this one was unfortunate. He died on the first play of the game. I mean, he went down immediately, like face planted, and yeah, it was done. I mean, he came back, I think, ran 3 more times after that, and then was like, no, I'm injured. I can't play. So unfortunate. I mean, I like the call. The game was a shit show, but he never had a chance. He died on the first play. So, it is what it is. Unfortunate.
Yeah, I kind of felt that way about my McCaffrey bet. I think it moved down to like 107, right? And I was like, damn, it should be. I was surprised it moved down that much, especially with no Purdy, and you think they're going to run the ball more, but the Packers literally just stacked the box, and you kind of saw what happened. They blitzed a lot more than I've been used to seeing, and they just absolutely steamrolled in that game. 38 points on that defense. I'll take that all day. I know Bosa wasn't playing, but man, dude, they looked like shit. Every part of that team looked awful. Debo dropped 2 balls, penalties, and they weren't like tic-tac penalty. Like they were legitimate full-on penalties. I was like, damn, dude, you guys needed this win, bro. Like you needed this win bad, and Packers just continue to keep pace with the NFC North, I guess, and it's just the NFC North just keeps winning.
Yeah, I mean, it was an ugly game. It kind of counted out the 49ers from the start a little bit. Like it was hard to believe in them in that kind of situation. Like you said, no Bosa on the defensive side is obviously disheartening in addition to losing your quarterback. I'm not really sure about the Allen move as starter as opposed to, Dobbs back there. It was a little bit questionable, in my opinion, at least, but hopefully they get back pretty soon. I feel like every 49ers fan probably just has their fingers crossed because, like you said, it was unplayable. Like they stacked the box every play. They were like, anybody but Christian McCaffrey beat us, and no one else could, unfortunately.
Yeah, nobody was stepping up in that game. It was really a shit show, dude. Like actually, it was just really just a giant shit show out there. But heading over to the late games here.
Yeah, James Conner, man, he couldn't get anything going in this one. It was brutal. I mean, no one on either side could get anything going. I don't know if you watched this game. I was hoping for an over. I was hoping for a little bit of a shootout here, but no, man. James Conner ran into a wall like 6 different times, and they completely couldn't get anything going on offense. So it was unfortunate. I was a big fan of Conner in this game. I thought it was going to be a little bit more fast paced, but no one could get anything going. And the Seahawks are looking like they're settling in on defense a little bit more every week. So definitely a unit we want to be a little bit more scared of going forward here.
Yeah, and luckily finished on a high note. I wouldn't even say lucky. It was just, they actually stopped the run for one drive so they could get the ball back. That was my only concern, and they just got absolutely roasted, man. This defense got trashed by Saquon. But Stafford got there. I know it's tough when, the line moves as much as it did. Like, I think this line from 238 ended up at 249, 250. And obviously he didn't get to 250. So I guess that's why you watch the show, why you watch it here. And DraftKings wanted to leave it there. I think every other spot was like 242.5. So you would have cashed at that initial line and then just got a ton of steam. I think everybody kind of saw what I was seeing in there. As well, and ended up getting, like I said, 248, 249, and it was unfortunate. I forgot to put it in my bet tracker until like right before the game, and I'm like, oh well, I took the L on that one because I didn't get to put it in my on the action tracker at the time. So I luckily got that one at that number here, and Stafford looked great outside of the pressure. That pressure really got to him there.
Yeah, no, it's the benefit of betting Sunday Night Football early too. I mean, betting Sunday Night Football by the time people have already like either won all their money or lost all their money, and it's right before game time, those numbers move like crazy, especially on a more popular guy like a Stafford. So definitely glad we got it in early. Obviously, cashed the ticket here, but yeah, it was an interesting one. Obviously, wish we got a little bit more exciting, action from Stafford, but a little bit of garbage time never hurt anybody.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was good to finish on a positive note. Had a great DFS week. Shout out Trey McBride. Dude just was an absolute workhorse for your boy here. He ended up going crazy. I had my 3 lineups. Luckily for me, he was in the 2 winning ones I had because the dude just kept getting check down after check down after check down, and Seattle was fine with it, which was good. Anything you want to talk about from the slate at all, Stu, before we get into how we did with our dogs?
Yeah, I mean, I'll victory lap the Buccaneers a little bit. Obviously, last week I kind of said fuck the dogs. I want the Bucks. Give me all the Bucks. Like I just wanted as much as I could have right there, and I was very happy with how that turned out. Pretty much exactly how I expected that game to go. I mean, I don't know what downgrading your quarterback. I don't know how much motivation that could possibly give your team when all the quarterbacks fucking suck. And then you see the Malik Neighbors interview after once again complaining. I don't blame him. I mean, the guy. You'd think they'd be force feeding him targets. You'd think they'd come out and, in the first quarter, there'd be 10 for Neighbors. Just hopefully something can happen. But no, he's too busy throwing it to my guy, Theo Johnson, who I did toss a couple bucks on before the game. So that one was pretty nice. But yeah, no, I was very happy with that Bucks game. We got a Sean Tucker touchdown as well. That was fun. Shouted that one out on the show. So that was my game of the week. I at least got to enjoy the Bucks beating down the Giants. That was a good one.
Yeah, outside of Stafford, my biggest bets of the week were on Bucky Irving. I was actually in that game on another guy. I got lucky on that 50-yard run. Ended up getting us over that number. I know he ended up having a great day. He was in the Millie Maker winning lineup. He was in my biggest lineup of the week. Obviously, him and Trey McBride carried the whole thing. But yeah, he ended up with like 140 total yards. Got me a touchdown. I had a plus 160. Wasn't as good as like odds as Tucker, but ended up getting there. So that was good. I ended up playing Justin Jefferson in all 3 leagues, and I was kind of nervous facing off against Chicago, but that was my dog pick. I don't remember my last dog loss I have on here. It's been probably 6 weeks since I've lost a dog on here. I almost went Carolina, and they fucking did it again, boys. They keep covering for me, bro. I told you that was number 2. Ended up betting them for the first time that I didn't have them on the show. Because I'm like, I have to, dude. Like, these guys have won me money the last 3 weeks. I kind of have to. Shout out Carolina, bro. And,
Yeah,
dude, I'm not even kidding. Like, this was tough because I was really mad when that – I don't know if you saw the hit on Sanders. Did you see the hit on Jatavian Sanders that he ended up getting carted to the locker room? So McDuffie just, like, completely just fucking cheap shot the fucker, dude. And he ended up, like, having to get stretchered off, carted to the locker room. I had a lineup with – double tight end Jatavian Sanders and Trey McBride. And Sanders was sub 0.5% owned in this. I was the only one to own Jatavian Sanders. The dude was 3 for 50 and just cooking, bro. Just absolutely cooking. And then obviously he got hurt, and it was a pretty bad injury. So prayers up for him. I'm sure he's IR'd already. But yeah, that could have been a huge day with that. But shout out my I can't believe I bet the Bears, but I did. Got the plus 3.5, and they lost by 3, and they do Bears things, man. That's all you can ask for. And like I said, I don't remember my last dog loss. I'm gonna have to go look through it because it's been like 6 or 7 in a row now. Shout out the Panthers for being 3 of them and having to bet the Bears for the other one. So
yeah, I mean, it was a dog week. Obviously, that one, the Panthers shocked me. Honestly, I really did not expect that. I mean, they got the job done. They almost, sent it to overtime and, could have fought for the win, which would have been a hilarious storyline. I would have loved if they could have won that game, just from like a narrative perspective. Later in the year, too, people like imagine Mahomes in the Super Bowl. How many different guys would be like, they lost to the freaking Panthers. No way I'm taking them in the Super Bowl. So I don't know. That would have been so funny, but they still got the win, obviously, in the end. But another cover for your guys. I hated on it once again, and they still got the job done. And yeah, Bears was a fun one. Only bummer was really Caleb Williams taking that sack in overtime was insane. Like the one where he ran like 20 yards back after having 15 minutes to throw the ball was like, what are we doing? You absolutely cannot be doing anything like that at the NFL level. So a little disappointing. I was one DJ Moore reception away from the long shot on here. That one pissed me off a little bit, but DJ Moore, pretty solid game overall, cashed the base, but that was a fun one. And definitely probably going to be back in the Bears again pretty soon because they find ways to lose, but if you're going to give good dog prices on them, they're going to stay close and give you a good game.
Yeah, dude, I was kind of mad with my long shot because I almost got that too, bro. I was so mad because I took Lamb low line. I took his regular baseline. Should have just went up on the freaking catches, bro, because goddamn. He had 10 catches, and I had his over 65.5 receiving yards, which was his baseline. Bro had 67 yards on 10 catches, bro, which, hey, I'll take it. PPR, love it, but my God, bro, just could not get those deep balls on the field outside of a couple I think he threw down the field to Tolbert in that game as well. But, yeah, crazy game for the Commanders. Anything you want to say about that or no?
That was very depressing. I was already sick this weekend, so feeling under the weather, not having a good weekend. I mean, I went crazy when Terry caught that, pass, obviously. Felt my heart. That's probably the most I'd felt my heart in a little bit outside of like a workout or anything, I was fired up, and then to miss the extra point was just it was obviously a very Commanders way to lose a football game. So that was a little depressing. Definitely didn't feel great about that. Just losing to the Cowboys in general, being in a position where they were even able to lose that game was just pretty sad. The Cowboys suck. So definitely a little humbling, gotta realize that, maybe we weren't as great as we thought we were. Maybe got to pick up some wide receivers as soon as possible because I believe they lead the league in drops over the last 5-6 weeks, something like that. Just tough watch out there. Hopefully, whoever we play next, hopefully is a little bit easier. We can bounce back.
Yeah, no, it was tough. I mean, obviously, I hate McCarthy and want his ass fired too. So, but yeah, it was. I benched McLaurin in fantasy this week, and I was feeling pretty good about it. And I was fine with it, dude. I'm probably gonna bench his ass every week now, bro. They don't do enough for me. They don't do anything. They're absolutely dreadful in fucking throwing the ball downfield. They're doing nothing. Absolutely. Noah Brown's your leading receiver, bro. What the fuck are we doing, dude? Like, the fact that they don't move him to the other side is just laughable. Laughable, bro. You're Cliff Kingsbury. What the fuck, bro? You're fucking shit. That's the worst defense in the league, dude. They've given up the second most points in the league, and you guys are dog shit, bro. So I'm not a huge Kingsbury guy, so it was okay for me. But yeah, dude, just digging his grave because I can't see him. Obviously, you only can go through your tricks once before everybody sees it on tape. Now all your tricks are gone, and you're pretty much just having to rely on Jane Daniels making crazy plays with his legs. Because that was the only real big plays you guys had all game. And prayers up for Eckler. Obviously, I like Austin Eckler, so prayers up to him because that dude was fucked. He's got 2 concussions the last 5 weeks, so they're pretty much done. I can't see the Commanders doing too much anymore until they get something. They got to get something. Do something, bro. Make a move.
Yeah, no running backs, no outside of McLaurin, no wide receivers. It's gonna be a lot of Daniels running for the rest of the season. So it's unfortunate, but like you said, hopefully we get Eckler or one of these guys can get back soon. But not looking too good right now.
Yeah, I give my big shout to my boy Rico Dowdle winning me a couple fantasy weeks. I have him in 2 or 3 leagues. He was in my flex. Had to throw him in there this week with all these buys and. Dude got 20-something touches, and thank God. No one wants to watch fucking Zeke run a ball into the fucking back of anybody anymore. Keep Rico out there. Give him 90%, bro. What are we doing, dude? Zeke is old and shit, dude. It was so bad. So bad to continue to watch him just run into people's backs. And then I saw the first play he comes into the game, he does a spin move and just gets absolutely leveled. And I'm like, bro, it's because you're too damn slow, dude. You're old and slow. What are we doing here? So, yeah, it was a good week. Good week overall. Like I said, dogs came through for us yet again, and I guess favorites came through for you. But we get to today's game. I'm going to just see the actual numbers, best odds for each right now. I think I'm seeing 50.5 on the total right now. We're seeing the Chargers as 2.5-point dogs. Baltimore at the Chargers. I'm. Are you surprised at the line here at all, Stu? Or are you, especially with how the Ravens have been playing lately? Are you kind of in the spot here that this might be more of a game that opens up a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing that sticks out to me is probably the total. I think the total's a tad bit too high right here, honestly, at 50.5. Obviously, both of these two teams do have like elite upside on offense. Obviously, two of the best quarterbacks in the league are going to do that at any given time. But I don't know, 50.5, especially for two teams. These are the Harbaughs at the end of the day. Obviously, battled the Harbaughs. We know the Ravens are going to run the ball, especially early on. I think we're going to see a decent amount of Henry. Chargers, they've obviously gone a little bit more pass heavy, but still, J.K. Dobbins, you get Justice Hill, or not just Hill, you get Gus Edwards in a little bit of a revenge game against their former team. I bet the Chargers will have a solid amount of running, nowhere near as much as the Ravens, but on their own. And both these two teams do like those kind of slower, more methodical drives. Both of these two teams are going to be like top 6 in cover 2 usage. They play a lot of 2 deep safety looks, and that's going to automatically, attempt to limit explosive plays, at least try to keep things underneath. So I don't know, 50.5, especially prime time. That seems a little bit aggressive. We don't really love the primetime overs in general around here. As for the spread, though, I think I like Baltimore. I think I started out kind of liking Chargers at the beginning of the week. That was kind of the side I was looking at. I talked about it last week. The Chargers for me are more of a dog team as favorites. I did not back them last week. They obviously looked very good in the beginning and then kind of did let the Bengals back into that game a little bit. But overall, still the Chargers are a team I normally like as a dog. I'm surprised it's not 3, though. I kind of think you need that 3. You want that key number right there within a field goal. Tucker Mania has faded a little bit recently. He's no longer the lights out kicker he once was. You could depend on anywhere. That may, happen to matter in this game towards the end. But I do like Baltimore. I think at the end of the day, I'll talk about it a little bit in my write-up for my prop, but I think we're at the point where we're asking a little bit too much from the Chargers. Like, I really like Justin Herbert, but when you individually look at these weapons and kind of what they're going to be asked to do, I think we're asking a little bit too much from them in this game. Like, you look at the props across the board, a guy like Ladd McConkey, up to like 70 receiving yards. That's the highest mark he's going to be at all year long. We got Quentin Johnston, a guy who people were talking about cutting last year. Like, the guy cannot catch a football. He's at 50 receiving yards himself. We got Will Disley, a guy most people didn't draft in their fantasy leagues this year at 45 yards. You're asking a lot from guys that aren't normally set in that price range. And for me, that's when you start to have some red flags. Are all these guys going to keep overperforming? Is Herbert going to be able to lift up everybody with him? You're kind of asking a lot when you got Lamar Jackson on the other side. So I kind of think it's as simple as that. I think the Ravens are the better team. They faced some tough competition recently, but I think this is probably a good bounce back for them to get the win here.
Yeah, it's tough at a 2.5 price tag, bro. At that point, you might as well just bet a money line. Like that's the tough part. Is if you like it, it's not crazy. I think it's minus 140. I would just rather take a money line there because, dude, some crazy shit's been happening, especially with these extra points, right? These extra points have just been freaking terrible. You know how easy betting would have been probably 15 years ago? They're kicking the fucking ball from the 1 goddamn yard line. Goddamn, that shit was free. It was like 90-something percent, 99%. Now it's like, damn, dude, everybody's missing extra points. It's like not even a lot to make an extra point anymore. So, I think if I'm doing it, I kind of like an over here just because I don't think that – I know they're going to run the ball, but it's just there's been so many explosive plays from both sides, and I know they're going to keep them in front, right? I know they're going to keep them in front, but, like, I could just see these being, like, 8-9 yards a pop on these runs just because if you're going to play 2 back and try to negate it, I think they might have to change something in the second half, especially if Baltimore gets up in this game, right? If they get up in this game, we might see some chucking, man. And if that happens, I know the over's coming, bro. If Baltimore gets up in this game, I'm expecting an over to come here because I've seen Herbert come from behind in these last couple weeks, right, where they're kind of in competitive ball games. Whereas we saw earlier in the season, they really didn't have that many, right? There was a lot of blowouts, and they were just nuking teams and just running the ball just to run the ball. But you saw them put up 41 this is the Ravens here. 41 on the Broncos there. And obviously you're coming off of a really tough spot, right? Against the Browns, who just want to muddy, or the Steelers, who just want to muddy some shit, and it was a 34 points. I think this is going to be a lot more open, and I think I'm expecting some points here, but I think the best line I can get is 50 on a flat line. I think that would be my lean because I think this is going to be really close.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. For me, I see what you mean. I just think like when you look at this coaching staffs, like the talent is all there for the over. I'm not disagreeing with that at all. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be ugly. I don't know. It's a tough one. It's probably a no bet for the total for me. But I did agree with your spread analysis on just taking the money line. I kind of felt the same way once the Eagles got down to minus 140 on the money line yesterday. I was like, why lay the points? Like I'd rather just take them outright when you think a game can be this close when you have two good quarterbacks on the other side. So that's probably what I'll end up doing with Baltimore as well, is laying a little bit of juice and taking the minus 140 or so.
Yeah, I guess my thing is if the game last week with the Steelers wasn't only 34 points, how high do you think this total would be? You look at Baltimore's games, they're just like asking you to shoot out with them. You know, like the last 4 weeks before that, right? 69 points, 51 points, and they scored 41 of those. They gave up 24 points or 29 points to the Browns, right? With Jameis going out there and just shoving on them, right? And then you give up 31 to Tampa, you score 41. I mean, even with Washington, it was a 53-point game. Like, they're just asking you to shoot out. And I think that if they can, I think what other thing you want to see than Herbert throw that ball around when you've seen him been playing this well lately? You know, he's been playing really well. Do I think they might be a little bit more methodical than some of these other games? Yeah. But, their defense has just been atrocious, bro. And I know you mentioned to me before this that Roquan might be out. Bro, what the fuck? How are we going to stop anybody? You've been giving up 30 to some scrubs, dude. And we saw how bad Jameis was the next game, right? He goes out there and torches them. Then he stinks, and then he plays the Saints and puts up 400, right? So it's like, I love Jameis, don't get me wrong, but first start in how many years, and he just goes out there and torches you, right? I mean, that's just – and now you lose your best player on defense. Like, some can say Kyle Hamilton, but the guy in the middle is going to be the guy you're relying on, right, to get you in all the right spots. So I could see a lot of broken coverages and probably just like, hey, keep it in front of you, right? So I think it could be. It's just I don't trust that Baltimore defense. I don't think you really can at this point. With the numbers are just so bad, and they just get torched everywhere.
Yeah, you're not wrong. The numbers definitely, especially, I mean, we've targeted Baltimore, multiple times on the show ourselves, but I just look at it, I see, the names, even Marlon Humphrey, even if he's not an elite corner, still above average. I've always thought Nate Wiggins, a young corner, is pretty good over there as well. When I look at then Kyle Hamilton as well, when I look at who they're matched up against, I'm not impressed by the Chargers wide receivers. You know what I mean? I don't think they're good. So I kind of look at it on paper and I go, okay, all the stats say the Ravens wide receivers or, the Ravens are getting cooked by wide receivers, but that's going up against Jamar Chase every week. That's going up against a lot of good wide receivers. You get a little bit of a step down in competition against the Chargers. And then the Chargers side, their defense is playing a little bit better than people would anticipate as well, even without the name value. So I don't know. I'm super excited for this one. I think that's what makes it such a fun game, is I do think there are a lot of different ways this one could end up going.
Yeah, last thing I'll say is they let Jaden Daniels throw for 280 on him, right? That's all I need to know, right? With those receivers, we just talked about how dog shit those receivers are. I'm taking the Chargers receivers over them. And they almost let 300 go down by Jaden Daniels. And we haven't seen that happen outside of those Hail Marys and shit, all these crazy plays they've been getting. So let's get into some bets. I'll kick it over to you. So we got 50 of you guys in here live with us. Appreciate you joining us on your Monday afternoon. Hit that like button if you could. And Stu will start us off with the winner here. Let's do it.
Sounds good. I'm going to the running game. I'm going J.K. Dobbins. Not on the ground. I'm going to him in the receiving role. At 2.5 receptions, minus 110. Man, I mean, this isn't necessarily – there's a lot of interesting running back plays in this game. This probably isn't the last running back receiving play I'll have. I do like some Justice Hill on the other side. Always a big fan of his. But Dobbins here to me jumped out pretty simply because I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball very well in this game. We've talked about it like 10 times in the show. I'm pretty sure everywhere where you're looking at information in this game, they're going to tell you the same thing. Ravens are one of the biggest pass funnels in the league, obviously, with the fact that they allowed like second most passing yards and second fewest rushing yards. They're very good at slowing down the run. They allow the second fewest yards before contact. They get to you fast. That line is aggressive. And they've been very good at shutting down the run. And what that does to a team, right, is when you can't run the ball effectively, you still need to have these different mechanisms to make the defense respect you at all levels of the game, right? You can't just be threatening downfield all the time where they're going to be easily able to prepare for that. So what you see teams do, check down, short passes. You get the running back involved on some screens. You're not directly running the ball up the middle. It's not, playing to the strength of the defense, but you're getting a little bit creative and you're still manufacturing easier third down opportunities, setting up 2nd and 5 as opposed to 2nd and 9, just getting those short, easy dump downs. For me, that's why I played receptions over yards here. When you look at the defense on the side, they do play a lot of cover 2. Both of these two teams, like I said at the beginning, top 6 in cover 2 usage. You're going to see a lot of it. And they're going to try to limit explosive plays. They're going to try to keep everything in front of you. And kind of my biggest thing, I said at the beginning, I think you can really poke holes in a lot of the Chargers' different offensive weapons. Like when I look through and I think, okay, you're not going to be able to run the ball as effectively, right? We've only seen 2 running backs clear 50 yards against the Ravens, and it takes them like 18 attempts to do so. Dobbins is lined at 12 and a half attempts. We really don't think that's going to happen. Like, who's going to be the guy that takes advantage? Because obviously Ladd McConkey is the guy that sticks out. But it's important to notice he's been banged up, limited in practice a couple times so far this week. That's your number one weapon. And when you look at the Ravens, what they do, they've been the 7th best team in the league at limiting slot and inline targets. So the two guys that's going to affect is going to be your tight end and your slot wide receiver. That's going to be Ladd, and it's going to be Will Disley, another guy who people are talking about a ton this week. Still 7th fewest receptions to that area of the field. Disley lined at over 40 yards. To me, that seems like a little bit of a recipe for disaster right there. So instantly kind of two guys that I like Ladd a lot. He's good, especially against man coverage, which the Ravens have been running a little bit more of recently. But if he's not at 100%, and that's your best weapon, that's going to be seeing Marlon Humphrey, he's going to be seeing a decent amount of coverage, some safety help over top. Not really interested there. Then we go to the outside wide receivers. That's where you actually can target this defense a little bit more. I just don't trust him. I really don't. I mean, Johnston, you gotta have a body catch. He can't catch with his hands. It's got to be a hug. He's got to have his whole body on it. If you watch any tape on this guy, it's kind of a mess there. He can get open. He can get free down the field. It's just similar to your boy with the Packers, Christian Watson, right, where he dropped that insane deep ball a little bit earlier. It's like you got to be able to catch a ball. And then Palmer, man, I'm starting him in fantasy tonight. We'll hope for the best, but this is not a guy that you want to be trusting. And I mean, even you can see he's losing his job a little bit so far this year. So when I look overall, I see so many holes in every individual target, but we know Herbert's going to be throwing. And we know the reason these guys have been doing well is because Herbert can elevate everyone around him. I think he's going to be forced to dump down a little bit more than people expect. I would not be surprised if we see a lot more blitzing than people are used to from the Ravens. They're normally pretty okay with getting pressure on the quarterback with rushing 4. We've seen some unique blitz packages. Obviously, Kyle Hamilton, a guy you can disguise very well, do some very creative things with. I think they might come at Herbert a little bit more than people are anticipating. And what that's going to mean is even more jump downs, right? Because you got to get in his face. You can't let Herbert keep cooking the way he's been. And you touched on it earlier. The secondary is getting torched. They know they're getting torched. Everybody does. What's the way you negate that? If you can't stop getting torched, you got to get to the quarterback first. So I think all of this is just painting a good picture for a lot of checkdowns, a lot of short, easy targets. And Dobbins has no threat here. I mean, Hassan Haskins will play like 5 snaps. That's your one threat. But I'm not worried about that at all. I'm not talking about like a legitimate threat here, like a Gus Edwards, who we know what Gus Edwards is going to do. He's there for like 3rd and 1, 1st and 10. He's going to get a couple early down carries, but he's not a pass catcher whatsoever. So I think there's going to be a lot of dump downs. I think there's going to be a lot of passing. And I think J.K. Dobbins is sneakily a guy. Just ran 77% of routes last week. Sneakily going to be very involved here against a team that gives up a ton of dump downs.
Yeah, no, I think we're in a pretty good spot together here on this one because I was already on Herbert completions. I think that's a great talking point that you went to. My thing is, especially with the Ladd and Disley thing, I don't even know who's playing. I don't even know their backup middle linebacker. Roquan never comes off the field, so that's it makes it tough, man. Because like That's literally like taking away like Jesse Bates from the Falcons. That's like taking away, how many years in a row has he led in tackles, bro? Like he's up there every year, top 3. The last 4 years, 4 years since getting drafted out of Bama there, and I'm like, damn, bro, like that's what makes it tough for me because I think when you have a guy like that missing, I 100% agree. You're going to need to send some pressure, bro. Like that's literally how you're going to be able to get this out. I won't be surprised if we see Kyle Hamilton blitz more in this game than any game of the season. And just looking at next gen stats, it was kind of funny because I was looking at just some of these games where guys don't get pressure on him, right? He really wasn't pressured much last week against the Bengals. He had a 13 completed air, or I think it was 13. Let me make sure I say it right. Average completed air yards in that game. 13. That was number 1 in the NFL last week, right? When you go to Tennessee, right, a team that, makes it a little dirtier, right? They put a little bit more pressure on you. It was like 5.5, right? Then you keep going. Like the Browns, they couldn't get pressure on them either because they were running the ball so well. It was like 11, right? And then you go to like a game like Denver, and it's back to 5. And it's all those teams that can get pressure on Justin Herbert. They're smart enough coaches to make something happen here to dump it off, right? And I think it's going to be underneath, yards after the catch. I mean, yeah, I don't know if Quentin Johnston's going to be that guy because you got to catch the ball first, but like, bubble screens, Dobbins obviously in space, Ladd in space. I don't think it's much Disley in space, but it's just like if you're going to run cover 2 and you're going to leave the middle open, I could just see this dump off in the middle, right? And that could be Dobbins, that could be Disley, it could be – I just don't think there's many yards there, right? I think that if you're going to do anything, you take completions. I don't see – I don't even know which one's on each anymore. I keep messing up Jim, obviously with Baltimore there. I always keep just messing them up now that I'm talking about both our balls. It's tough to do. And just with Jim here, I just can't expect – how your team's been beat. How they've been torched. You got to make an adjustment because Herbert can throw a hell of a deep ball, right? And he wants to, right, when he gets the opportunity to do that. But I think that, like you said, blitz, make something happen and make guys, make plays, right? If you take the 3-yard dump offs, I think Herbert's a smart enough quarterback in this game to not get behind the sticks because that's going to be really tough, right? It's going to be a really tough game if you're living behind the sticks with penalties and or negative plays. So I really like the dump offs here. I really like the completion line. I think minus 120 at this price is pretty fair. And just looking at a couple of the other ones, if you want to go down here a little bit and dig, but the Ravens run defense, we talk about it all the time. I don't know how else they're going to move the ball. Like, I really don't. Like, I could see Dobbins getting like 6 catches. I could see they don't have a Justice Hill, right? They don't have a guy that can just, come in just to catch the ball, right? So I do love your look there. I think that's a great spot at the price it's lined at. And I could just see him moving from, some of these games where he's got 17 completions, right, for like 290 last week. I don't think that's going to be an option here. I really like Herbert, and I really like this. I like some of these underrated passing options. I think we're going to get it done.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I think Herbert's obviously in a great spot for completions here. We touched on the run game. I mean, I honestly would have played Dobbins under rush yards. I just think the Roquan thing scared me a little bit, just for the same reason you were kind of saying with like Disley and how we don't know how that's going to look over the middle. I think that's a very good point. This Ravens team isn't prepared for kind of what it looks like over the middle without Roquan. It looks like Kyle Hamilton is going to be wearing the green dot, so he'll be in the box probably, like you said, a little bit more than normal. So it'll be interesting. It'll be new. I think there is potential for some miscommunications and stuff like that. And even with the guy you said, Quinn Johnston, I mean, the way he got all those yards in college was screens. They got him a lot of early, close to the line of scrimmage, and then they'd mix it up with a bomb. And I think the Chargers, have a path to do that as well here. So I think we agree a lot of short, a lot of over the middle, just kind of simple completions to get Herbert going and avoid that tough run defense.
Yeah, no, but this ain't no Big 12 though, bro. This ain't this ain't guys just being able to just run past dudes just to be able to run past dudes. Like watching Quentin Johnston in those, like even on his like touchdowns, those deep passes, there's no one within 10 yards. I hope you guys know that. Like there's no one there. Like I watched enough of that shit. Like it was like bomb, and there's no one in the screen with him. So yeah, you can catch it with your chest there, bro. But yeah, it's hopefully Jimmy can keep the ball in front of him and get the defense to be in front. So like the spot, like both of our spots here, Stu. let's quick recap here, and then we'll get on to long shots possibly.
Sounds good. We got J.K. Dobbins over 2.5 receptions, -110. I'd play it to like -130, -140 range.
Perfect. I'll be on Herbert over 21.5 completions. In this one, Sue, do you have a long shot for us at all in this game? Like I said, pretty big total. Is there any spot that you're looking at?
I don't have any long shots right now locked in, honestly. I could see myself doing some kind of running back combo with Justice Hill on one side, J.K. Dobbins on the other. The one other thing I'll say is I think Justin Herbert for a touchdown at 410 is pretty solid. I really liked that mic'd up clip they had a couple weeks ago where it was like a 3rd and 4 or 4th and 4, and they go over to the sideline and they're like, are we going to go for it? Are we going to do it? And they're like, yeah. And he goes, you're going to run it. Like, he's like, obviously we're going to do a run play, right? Like Herbert asked for the run and Harbaugh's like, yeah, obviously that's a great idea on the 4-yard line. Like that's like a Josh Allen call. That's not like Herbert isn't necessarily what you think of someone that maybe uses his body, uses his frame as much, but they've been doing it more. They've been more aggressive with that in short yardage situations. So I thought about rush attempts in general. 4.5 is kind of fair. It's I think plus 110 or so. That's probably a fair number. But I think if they do get on the goal line and with the guys like Gus, they're good goal line backs, but they've been a little bit inefficient so far this year. I think they could just go for Herbert with the sneak. And 410 is like not a great price. It's okay. But I think that's probably going to be, maybe I go first touchdown just to up it a little bit there. But I think Herbert, to get a rushing touchdowns, the closest thing I have to a long shot in this one so far.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it'd just be 300 passing yards for me on Herbert, but it's only plus 220 on FanDuel. There's really not that much. I mean, I'm surprised. I understand the lad injury, but his line's moving now too, 63.5 in that spot. Ooh. So I think that's starting to get into playable territory. I think that's enough yards coming off. So I think if they say he's playing, which 2 limited back-to-backs, with the extra day of rest, I think he's playing in this game. And if he's not, then it's going to – I bet you that J.K. Dobbins line moves to 3.5 pretty fast. So, yeah, I think that would be the spot. If he does sit, yeah, J.K. Dobbins time, baby. I'll be probably laddering it up with you on those because it's some pretty wild numbers on these reception lines. Like 4 catches being almost plus 200, 5 catches 320, right? I mean, if you want to guess and take a long shot on the receptions already for the ladder up on Dobbins, just guessing Ladd's out, or if you think Ladd's going to play fully, take Ladd up to 100 receiving yards, right? It just kind of, I mean, if one of them sits, like this line's moving down because people are nervous with the Q tag, but I think you get pretty good value before it comes out because they're going to lock it up and move these lines like crazy once that news comes.
No, I definitely agree. I hope Ladd does play, though, because it's getting down in the low 60s. That's when I start wanting to click on that over button right there. So you don't want to get hurt by an injury. Obviously, just got KO'd by freaking Brian Robinson on the first play this week. So that hurts your heart a little bit when you go to do it again. But I think maybe, a better way to do it's just, instead of a full unit, just tossing $20, $25 on 100 receiving yards and hoping you get some good CLV there if he suits up and everything's all right. So definitely like that. And yeah, I'm pumped to watch this game. Should be a good one.
Awesome. Well, you got anything else to for today? Obviously tons of action. I got college basketball all day ready to go. We got Maui coming. It's always a fun tournament. I believe the first one tips off at 1:30. Memphis UConn should be a fun game there. But anything else you want to talk about? Anything else that you got for people?
No, just, beginning of a holiday week, pretty much. Thanksgiving coming up soon. So bear with us. This week might be a little bit, here and there. We might have to mix up timing a little bit or so. So just stick with us. Make sure you're following on Twitter, have the notifications on so you can see when we update the times, if we have to or anything like that. Always good to be, in the know on that. But yeah, nothing else really to say. Great game tonight. Super excited to dive into these games next week. If you do want every single pick, as soon as I lock it in, you can go get that over at 4 for 4. It's like $50 or so for the rest of the year. It's pretty cheap at this point. Not much season left. But I got a lot of props left. I got a lot of winners left in me for the rest of the season. So excited to keep it going. Excited for this game tonight. Probably we'll still have another edition or two. We'll probably post a parlay tonight over on Twitter as well, just because I think this will be a really fun one. So super pumped for it. Hopefully we all get some winners and we can, come back here on Wednesday celebrating.
Yeah, it will be meant to mix it up again for Wednesday. I won't be able to do the regular time just because Thanksgiving stuff all moves everything around. So just make sure you follow over on Twitter, X, whatever it is. We'll try our best to get you the info a little earlier. I'll try to make the thumbnail and everything a little earlier too, so it's kind of up there already, just ready to go. So, but yeah, 43, 33. Actually, I think it's 9.6. We got to get back in that double digits, 9.6. I forgot to add the long shots in there. 9.6. And we're ready to go for tonight. So thank you guys. We appreciate you tuning in. 40 of you guys in here. Hit that like button on your way out. And we'll be back possibly Wednesday. If we do, I'll make sure to drop it on Twitter and have that ready for you guys. So thank you guys, and best of luck tonight.